Hey everybody, welcome to my Suburban Oasis. So today we're going to do a garden tour and a walkabout, and I promised you that I was going to do a bit of a garden evolution tour to tell you a little bit about where my garden has been and how it became to be where it is today. So we'll do a little bit of talking about this first area and where it started, and then we will finish it out with a tour around the rest of the garden. So I hope you enjoy this tour today because fall is in full effect, and I think not tonight, but the next night we're probably going to get a first frost. Welcome to all the new subscribers. Thank you so much for joining. My name is Soleil and I garden in Michigan in a zone 5B. All right, let's take a look. So I'm going to give you a bit of an eagle-eyes view of the garden today, and I hope that you will forgive some of the messes because we are just getting to the point of doing some of the cleanup that's necessary this time of year. But this is the potager garden, as you can see from the deck. And when I first moved into this house, our deck only had one way of getting off of it, and so my husband has opened it up so that I have 3 exits from it. One over there, one headed towards the pool between the 2 viburnum, and one over here that leads into the potager garden. And one of the things that I think is really important with gardens is getting an understanding of the layout of your garden, your yard, how you use it, how your family walks through it, and what ways you need to kind of create pathways. And so I've found that having a circle around the house and ways to access from different points has been the most useful for us. So in this area, there was nothing here when I first moved in. This area was simply grass. And so we started by taking the grass out and installing 3 garden beds. We had this one, and this one. And what we did with the areas that were between each of the garden beds was we decided that we would pull out the grass and install mulch. And what this did was allow us to avoid any weeds that were in between the garden beds and give us pathways that we could access the garden beds easily. Over time, I was able to acquire some of these bricks that you see here. These are used bricks, and I got these on Facebook Marketplace. I got them for a really sweet deal, and I actually installed them in just a few hours in this area. So I want to just let you know that you can do things on a budget, and you can do things in timelines that make sense to you. There are things that you can do in terms of hiring landscapers, but had we have hired a landscaper to do this, they would have dug out the area, they would have installed a certain number of inches of rubble along with a certain number of inches of drainage sand, and then on top of that installed the bricks, and maybe even after that installed some type of mortaring or sand that helped to interlock the pavers. My approach to gardening is to be a little bit more temporary, and so I enjoy creating this area in a way that the bricks can be removed. So the mulch that we had down in this area was just wood mulch, and having used the pass over time, it was quite well compacted. While it was still very fluffy, if you will, it was very even, and I had no trouble at all laying the bricks over the top of it. So I just want to encourage you to think about ways that you can create things without having to go to the expense of $15,000 or those crazy costs that you see associated with hiring a contractor. This whole project probably cost me, over the years, if you include this fence even, probably about $500. The fence, the bench, all the bricks, and laying the bricks probably took me a total of about 6 hours between picking them up and bringing them home and laying them down. And I tried to create, I don't know if you can see from this aspect, but it's like a sun with the rays that are going out. So in this area right now, we have a lot of things that are still going on. We have a hydrangea back here that's continuing to put out new blooms still because it's been so nice and warm this fall. You can see back here I have put the cat's meow, Nepeta, back there. And then as well over here I have the Persian blue nepeta, which is right in the middle here, along with that yarrow that I planted, which is one of the proven winners ones. And this one is going to bloom a very pretty pink. I also put in here the Russian sage. These are also the ones that were by proven winners that I got that were 75% off. I think these guys are going to be thriving in this area, but we'll see. Hopefully. It's a very dry area. It's on the south side of my house and it gets a lot of sun. These are the denim and lace Russian sage. My potager garden is still looking quite lovely for this time of year because we haven't had a frost. So I have some lettuce here that is covered up by these garden cloches in order to protect it from the rabbits, as well as my fig, which I had in a pot on the deck that I have planted into the garden now so that it will overwinter. This is the, I believe it's the Violet de Bordeaux fig. Hopefully I'm saying that correctly. And it is hardy down to zone 5, and I'm in a zone 5B, so I think it should do fairly well here. In addition to that, if you watched my plant haul, you also saw that recently I was able to acquire this beautiful Sparky Clematis, and just look at these pretty flowers. It's still blooming this year. I absolutely adore that. I think it's so pretty. It has a seed head in the back there that you can see. I grabbed a couple of those and tucked them into the ground to see if that would grow on. We'll see what happens. And then I have some seedlings of cilantro that will not last long because, as I said, we have a frost that is coming soon. I've really enjoyed the brick in this area, opening up the garden and providing additional pathways. You can see that my strawberries are still blooming back here. I have mums on the side of this pathway, and these gorgeous key lime marigolds just keep going. I've lined the edge of this bed with the Burgundy Glow Ajuga, so I think that's going to look really lovely next year, and it's going to provide some beautiful purplish blue flowers in the springtime. And those have gone all the way along the edge of these rocks here, and eventually it will grow up over the rocks and the edge of the bricks and provide a really nice softening effect to that line. So also in terms of the evolution of this area, this shed was something that we added. This is a tough shed. I highly recommend them to people. Nobody's paying me to say that. Nobody pays me to actually say anything in these videos. So if you see me recommending something, I will let you know if someone sent it to me. But I definitely am not accepting any money to recommend things. But I got this tough shed. It has been installed for, I believe, 5 years now, and it comes with a really great warranty. It is installed by the folks who manufacture it. The paint is painted on at the factory, so it lasts a really long time. And before this, I had an old shadow box fence that was being used to cover up the pool works, if you will, the pump and other things, and there wasn't any room for storage. It looked really ugly. It had corrugated plastic over the top. So by selecting the shed and putting it in, we increased our storage, and it made the garden much more beautiful. So that has been an improvement. In addition to that, there was a large old crabapple tree there. Over here there was 3 of them, and we took those out because they were hardly blooming anymore. They looked really rangy. And in addition to that, there were some scrub maples. We have a lot of Norway maples in our neighborhood, and there were some scrub maples at the base that we needed to tear out. So we got rid of all of those, and I created this garden bed using rocks from farmers and neighbors, Facebook Marketplace, anyone who's getting rid of rocks at a really decent price or for free. We were willing to pick them up. We would borrow my brother-in-law's truck. we would go grab them and bring them home and use them throughout the garden. We also created this fire pit, which has been really essential to us being able to take care of some of the extra wood that we have as we take down some of the old trees. This half moon garden bed that I've often referred to as the tropical garden, this is brand new as of last year. I created this last year as a no-dig garden bed, and it started out about half the size of this, and then I expanded it from about this width all the way out to the sides that you see now this spring. And I did that by using ground up leaves. And I took the ground up leaves and I took ash from the wood pit and I covered the grass with it, and then I took anything else that I had, including cardboard, put it over it, and then used a ton of wood chips, whatever I could find on sale at the end of the year, which included black wood chips, different colored wood chips, nothing that looked really pretty but would do the job, and smother all of the grass and the weeds before this year so that I could plant in it. So just goes to show you what you can do in a fairly short period of time, and fall is an excellent time to do that. So if you still have time in your area, you can still build a new garden bed that will be ready for you in the spring. It's an awesome way to do it. Okay, well, let's just kind of follow up now with a garden tour, and we'll just take a look at what's going on here. There's always lots of changes in the garden. This area right here, though, I haven't changed much since the last time we came, but I do think that the barberries that I've planted in front here are doing really well and enjoying their new spot with a little bit more sun. I can hardly believe that these ultra pink phlox are still putting out blooms, but they are, and they still have lots of little buds on them, so that's been really nice. And I'm still enjoying the bloom heads of this hydrangea, which is the Seaside Bar Harbor Hydrangea. And I will never get over the beautiful purple foliage on this 9-bark. I just love the way that it looks with those ferns and the pulmonaria. Wow. Makes me happy. Now these two are still ones that I have divided, so they're just kind of in recovery from that, but they will look just like the other pulmonarias next spring when they come out for bloom. My Hawthorne tree is looking really pretty with all of the little red berries that it has. The studs put out little seedlings every year, but it's definitely worth having in the garden. So in this area here, I have put 2 of the hopscotch Hugueras. These are the proven winner hopscotch. These are part of the Fun and Games series, and I really like the way that they fill up this spot. It's definitely been an area where I've had struggles with trying to figure out what to grow here, because I only could really grow shade plants and hostas, but I feel like these provide a little touch of color in this area and really help to fill it up. So I'm enjoying that. And then the Brunnera that I got recently over here is putting out some nice new little leaves. As you know, I got this in one pot and I ended up dividing it into 4 different plants, and they're all doing really well. They're definitely growing new roots and putting out new leaves and foliage. This bed's doing really great. Nothing spectacular to report about other than that things are growing on really well. This oak leaf hydrangea has not yet colored up like the one in the front yard, but that's because it does not get as much sun as the one in the front yard, so I'll show you and you can see the difference based on how much sun the plants get. The Sum and Substance Hosta has definitely begun to get much larger this year. I'm really excited to see that, and I have another one over here. My Pinky Winky Hydrangea has bloomed, and it's definitely pinking up. So pretty, those colors on the hydrangea, aren't they? And I just love the way that the Hugueras grass is draping over the walk here, but still not impeding the ability to walk along it. Now I have the Hugueras that are right here, and then I added the additional plum pudding Hugueras along that side, and then along this side I have the other green ones that I have, and I'm sorry I don't know the name of them off the top of my head. I've had them for a really long time, but I think it's just a beautiful way to kind of edge those stones. I like the shape of the foliage against the stones and how it kind of softens the edge, but it doesn't completely cover up the stone. So I'm really looking forward to doing a little bit more of that with the Hugueras. And those are sometimes fairly evergreen plants. So it's a really wonderful way to keep some color in the garden throughout the year. And here's the pretty and pink pulmonaria that I recently planted. I divided it and planted it, and all of these are putting on new growth, which is just lovely. Everything back here is looking good. I feel like I have generated a new variety of hosta here. If I get to name it, I think I'll call it Zebra because it's so stripy. Honestly, this is kind of an offshoot of one of the June hostas that I have, but it looks very different from any of the other June hostas. So this is a June hosta that's right behind it. So maybe I have a new variety that's happening in my garden. That's the neat thing about plants. You never know exactly what they're gonna do. Over here I had some orange mums before, and I really was not liking the way that they were aging and how they were looking against the very chartreuse foliage of the ajuga that's in here. So I took those out and I replaced them with 2 of the purple mums, and I like it a whole lot better. So I'm going to keep those for now. And then I have a couple of little starts in here of the Bilberry Hosta, which are right here and here. They're a little bit hard to see, but hopefully those will grow on for next year. We have lots of rose hips happening with this Grandma's Blessings rose. And this is the new Grandma's Blessings rose right here. So it doesn't have as many leaves on it as the rest of them, but it has some glorious rose hips. And I'm hoping those will change color and provide some additional orange or red color in the garden. It even has a rose bud on it still. And you can see from this shelf or bracket fungus right here, this is the reason why we had to take this giant hickory tree down, was because it was being weakened by this fungus, which is really a very systemic one. I had some small violas reseed themselves, so I have planted them back here, and they make a beautiful purpley blue color within this bed, don't they? I have to say that there definitely has been a much later frost than normal in our area. We typically would have gotten it last week, so I'm so excited to bring you this garden tour today. These are the Goji berry Hugueras that I got as part of my plant haul. I thought it would be nice to incorporate a little bit more color into this garden bed as the aster died off, and you can see the ultra pink phlox are still putting out more blooms and more buds here as well. So it'll be interesting to see how those perform in the garden next year. And then I had a couple of other Hugueras right here, and I'm totally blanking on the name of those right now, but those were also from the plant haul. And they were in the pot with the boxwoods. And this is where I put the other 2 Brunnera. I'm really enjoying seeing how this fern, this is a new one to me, and I really am enjoying how this fern is growing on. It's getting much bigger. Now in the way back garden, that's where I put the other plants that I got from the plant haul, the Sun King Aurelias. So you can see them right here and right here at the base of the trees, but they really do a nice job of providing a different foliage color contrast back there. And I think when the pulmonarias come up next year, it's going to be amazing. All of this is just looking a little bit different than it was last week. I have been taking the curly fries hostas and kind of popping them in about every, I'd say every few feet, maybe 2 to 3 feet apart along this bed. I believe that they needed a little bit more shade than they were getting in the place that they were, and I haven't been super thrilled with the way that this Carex has been doing at the front of the bed. So I think it will be fun to see how that does. And then you'll notice I have definitely popped the autumn frost hydrangeas, the autumn frost hostas throughout this bed to really enhance that line and the pattern that I have. I have created another division of the Bilberry Hosta right here because I don't have a mahogany monster to put here, so I am doing the bilberry. I'm still in the same color family. We'll come out here and take a look at how the Mega Caramel is doing. It's doing really well. And I placed a little bit of some grass, some pennisetum back behind that. And you can see I've got that mahogany monster throughout the bed in the back now, so I'll show you how that's planted in there. But I've got my onyx Hugueras, onyx pearls that I have planted along with those Bilberry Hostas that are in there, and I feel like that really provides an interesting contrast. The azalea is starting to put on some of its fall colors here. I just love fall colors. I don't know about you guys, but I find they are so brilliant. And when I got the mahogany monsters, you know, they were definitely needing a little bit of help in growing because they weren't looking that fantastic. But I mean, for $2.50, you couldn't beat it. So this is what they look like now after just a couple days in the ground. They're really happy to be in the ground and be able to expand their roots. I don't know how long they've been in those pots. And then this is the new area where I have taken out the lilac. So you see there's lots of different things in here right now, and it's really not that full, so it does look a bit scattered. But I love if you can just kind of blur your eyes and think about the colors that are there and how they contrast and what they will look like next year. I think that's going to be amazing. And also just ignore the concrete that's back behind it that my husband hasn't put in yet. And look at the color on this Mount Airy Fothergilla. Isn't that beautiful? These have some of the most beautiful foliage in the fall in terms of just turning yellow and red and orange and just the bright colors. And then this is the mulberry Huguera that I just planted as well. I can't believe how quickly the fragrant blue hostas are growing on either side of this mahogany monster. But look at the contrast between those colors. It's beautiful. This is my cart of shredded leaves that I will be using as some mulch in my garden. And then look at the color here on this Muctenia. Oh my goodness, I didn't think it could get any more brilliant than it did. And look at that. Wow. I love it. I have one really late mum here that is still opening in front of my Diamond Rouge hydrangea. So this mum is the last one to open. And you can see I tucked one of my Huguera in there. And then I have added some little gold star rudbeckia. Now this is just a tip after a certain number of years. some of the plants that you will see being sold by folks like Proven Winners will no longer have a patent on them, and they can be sold by someone else. So this was picked up. I think I got this one at Lowe's, and I got it on clearance, and I divided it. So I have another one over here. Of course I divided it, right? But this one just keeps flowering and flowering, and it has the most beautiful kind of crisp yellow and black that I've ever seen on a black-eyed Susan. I'm not even the biggest fan of a black-eyed Susan, but I got 2 of them, and I really like the way that they look. Now the Sedum Autumn Joy is also just stunning right now. Continues to look amazing. And in the back, I have my quickfire hydrangea that I planted recently. And then if you followed my channel, you know that I got some, at a local nursery, I got some clematis. So this one is going to be the diamond ball clematis. And I also took some out of the pot that was on my deck. So I'm not sure which one it is. It might be the Dr. Rupel. It doesn't have flowers on it right now, so I couldn't tell you for sure. But I think that beautiful like white and probably a pink flower will be coming up that trellis next year. So that will be really cool. And then I have the peachberry ice Huguera and the wildberry Huguera. You can see the difference here. This one is up front where there's more sun, and this one is in more shade, so it's a super deep purple, whereas up front it's definitely a much brighter color. And you can just see that gorgeous contrast between the blue, silvery blue foliage and the wildberry there. Isn't that pretty? Love it. And then all along the front of this border, just a small detail that you may or may not see unless you get really close right now, is I have tucked the sedum in along the front. Isn't that a pretty blue color? Now back behind that here's where I tucked in that white phlox. This is part of the opening act series. So that's going to be beautiful. And then you guys, my red mums are blooming. Oh, look at this. Look at this mum. Isn't that beautiful? So big. I couldn't remember what color it is. And then behind it, the viburnum is starting to turn that dusky red, purple. Look at that. So pretty. And then I got this glorious rudbeckia. This is cappuccino. Look at this. Apparently they call it cappuccino because when it first opens, the center looks a bit like a coffee bean. I don't think it looks like a cappuccino at all, but it's beautiful. Just all those really bright colors right there. Right? Wow. Okay. Now over here I did a little bit of small movement. As you can see, I've taken in my elephant ears. We'll see if they overwinter or not. That was quite the task. I moved these boxwoods over just enough because they were really close right in here. So I moved one over that way and I moved one over this way because I just wanted to give them a little bit more room as these bushes grow out. And boxwoods transplant really easily. They do really well. They don't have a big root system or anything. So they're looking quite good. And then I want to show you the foliage on this azalea. Look at that. That is some beautiful fall foliage, isn't it? Just gorgeous. And then here you can see how I divided up my penstemon here, the dusky violet. And I divided this Huguera over here. I put 2 small ones right underneath of this mugo pine with the interest along with those beautiful little ground covers of the geraniums. And these all the rage roses are still blooming, you guys, still blooming. And over here I have the incredible hydrangeas that are blooming. So gorgeous. Okay, I'm taking a really long time, so let's go out in the front yard and take a look at the front yard really quick. More of that gorgeous red mum right here. You guys, if you can't get them to overwinter, I'm telling you, you need to plant them earlier in the year. And here I divided some more of that spearmint Hugueras and put one of my autumn frost hostas there. Okay, here I have a Bobo Hydrangea, and underneath of it I have tucked two of my bedazzled hostas because they're in the shade. I think that will be a really lovely place for them. Got some lovely hostas over there, and the foliage on this azalea is also starting to really pop and turn red. Should be fun to see how everything looks. And then out here I really just want to show you some of the colors because the mums are still going. Still gorgeous. And I have a lot of rose hips, you guys. Lots of rose hips out here that I'm waiting on to see what color they turn for me. And right here is where I planted the two barberries and the double play doozy spirea. So I think that's, I'll back up a little bit so you can see it. So I think that's going to be a really nice little vignette right there with the daisies in front as well as the plumbago. And look at the color on the foliage of that plumbago. Right? And here's another of that little gold star rudbeckia. And the mums in this garden bed. And this pink scaviola still blooming. And the beautiful veronica, the purple veronica. And the Oscar Peterson rose. So this has just been a really fun bed to have this year. Okay, and let's take a look over at this sun garden. This one's also looking amazing. Look at all of the color with the orange here. And the mums. And the sedum. And this geranium is putting out some last show. I don't think it's going to be too happy when it frosts soon. But the Bobo Hydrangeas are looking pretty good here. And just look at the color on that oak leaf hydrangea. That's the Jet Stream by First Edition. They have some really awesome shrubs. We'll come around the other side and look a little bit closer at that. All the ferns are looking lovely. And then underneath of this canopy here, I have put a couple additional mums, some lighter colored ones, just to light it up a bit. Here's that dark veronica, along with the goat's beard that is going to be new for next year. And then here's where I put those beautiful boxwoods for a bit of color in between and to the side of those Bobo Hydrangeas. And those should be evergreen, so that color will be really nice during the winter. And so from this side it also looks really nice, and this is the side that I can see from my window from my living room. I'm telling you, if you don't have an oak leaf hydrangea, you guys get one. Just look at that. It's so pretty. And here's my lava lamp Huguera. Those are doing really well here also. And then I'll just show you a little bit of what's happening at our house right now. We're putting together a haunted house, and there's some spectacular things going on. So we're not going to make it up to the front door today, but definitely this front bed is looking really nice still. It's starting to turn a bit golden from the cooler weather, and soon all of these hostas will start to glow, you guys. That's one of the things. While hostas don't turn red, they do turn, many of them do turn a beautiful yellow in the fall. And this blue shadow fothergilla is still very blue and darkening up even as the colors change with the season. And I'm starting to get the berries that glow on the barberry. I planted Pentacetum here as well because I think that will help to hide that meter back there. And then where I took out this lilac here, we have some mums, and we have some of the blue marble salvia, which you can barely see, along with some other flowers. And this is where I planted the Japanese red grass. Well, thanks for joining me today. I think I'm out of time. So I hope you enjoyed the tour, and I hope you're having a wonderful fall. See you next time. Bye.